There's so many things going on in this chapter. They do question, like, why are we hanging out with this guy? Like, he is a wildling. He's doing something with the babies. It's like, yeah, he's a friend to the watch, but not a really good friend.
Yeah, and he's also horrible to his daughters, right? Like he's
a terrible. He's a terrible person. Lord Commander Mormont gives him a hard look. Take what you're given and be thankful. Would you sooner be out in the storm eating snow? We'll be there soon enough. Clubfoot Carl did not flinch from the old bear's wrath. I'd sooner eat what Craster's hiding, my lord. Craster narrows his eyes. I gave you crows enough. I got my women to feed. Aye, so you admit you've got a secret larder. How else to make it through the winter? I'm a godly man, Craster started, which, well, that's actually diving into, is he a godly man?
There's a whole lot to be said about Craster and his involvement with the gods and
the old gods.
I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff.
Because he's taking those babies out there. And how did that start? Craster, to me, is one of the most interesting characters in all of A Song of Ice and Fire. He's meant, I think, from surface level to just be, oh, he's this evil wildling guy. And in a way, he's kind of like Walder Frey, where he's got all of these wives and he's terrible to them. But this is a character who, is he doing blood magic by giving these babies to the White Walkers? Has he communicated with them? Like, how did that start? Did he just have a son and he was like, I don't want any sons, and so he just threw the baby away? You know, obviously is an extremely terrible thing in its own right, but maybe he saw that it kept the Wights and the White Walkers away, you know, the others away. That's the really intriguing thing about this, is how did that whole process start?
Yes. I don't know if we'll ever have the answer to that question, unfortunately, but I am very curious if it was because he needed a way for the Wights to not attack. I lean more towards the other option, which is Craster was just throwing out his male babies so he wouldn't have competition for his mates, aka his daughters, right? Which is disgusting. And I think maybe he just realized that the Wights were taking the kids. And it's like, oh, sick. I'm getting protection while also being a complete and utter scumbag. Nice. There's just so much to ask about Craster.
And why don't like the Thens or any of these other people go take him?
Yeah, it seems like he's somewhat protected. I mean, we can get into it. I have some stuff highlighted here.
Yeah, let's dive into it. Is he protected or do they not know about him? Because his camp is so small, it might just be that the Night's Watch knows he exists and these other people don't.
These lines, you know, there had been no attacks while he'd been at Craster's, neither Wights nor others, which, by the way, there's 2 or 3 different times where they separate Wights and others in this chapter. George is clearly letting us know that there is a difference. We know this, but you know, it's nice to see it reinforced. Nor would there be, Craster said. A godly man got no cause to fear such. I said as much to Mance Raider once when he comes sniffing round. He never listened. No more new crows or your swords or bloody fires. That won't help you. None when the white cold comes. Only the gods will help you then. You best be right with the gods. And Gilly had spoken of the white cold as well. She told them what sort of offerings Craster made to his god. Sam had wanted to kill him when he had heard there are no laws beyond the walls. This is him also reinforcing, like, well, that's just the way it is. I got to do it. I mean, so obviously the deal has been made. And then later on, we've been talking about this white cold. Sam asked Ren, do you think the Wights are gone? Why don't they come to finish us? They only come when it's cold. Yes, said Sam. But is it the cold that brings the Wights or the Wights that bring the cold?
Yeah.
Good questions, right?
It is a good question, and that's something you and I have speculated a lot. According to like what you can read in the lore of A World of Ice and Fire, and we've done videos and I think full podcasts on this, there is what seems to be a very big difference between obviously the show version of the White Walkers and the book version of the White Walkers. And that in the show, we know the Children of the Forest created them. In the books, that might not be the case.
It was not one of the big moments George had leaked to Dan and Dave. And also, I mean, I think that we're seeing here that they're clearly way more intelligent than it would appear based on the prologue of Game of Thrones, which we've went over many, many times. But also the idea that they're capable of making a deal. Like they're making a deal here with Craster. I mean, that's what it is. They might not have sat down and wrote out a contract, but there's some sort of sentience to them to where they can accept this deal. You and I have been putting it out there that we think that this is probably a full-blown culture of people that are maybe a little bit forgotten or whatever. Like they're up from the land of always winter. There's some sort of trigger, whether it's a climate event or magic or whatever. But these are not just mindless zombies walking around. The thing I took away from this, Matt, is that Craster might have a bigger hand in the White Walkers than we've ever considered. And it's the final sentences of this chapter that get me, because they're talking about Gilly's son. And it says, the boys' brothers, said the old woman on the left, Craster's sons, the white cold's rising out there, Crow. I can feel it in my bones. These poor old bones don't lie. They'll be here soon. The sons. I mean, we're talking about decades of Craster donating. So like a large portion of this army, the sons, the
Right.
boys' brothers. It's like, man, Craster has kind of fueled this army a bit.
Well, and that's what's interesting. And the show just shows us the one with the baby, and they touch it and its eyes
Yeah.
turn blue, right? So, and this dives into the difference between like Wights and the others slash White Walkers, right? The White Walkers are the full blown like ice creatures, as opposed to the Wights, which essentially are the zombies, right?
And yes, and this is what Sam was saying. He's saying, well, Dragonglass was able to kill one of those pale things, but like we
Right.
don't know that it could kill one of the Wights or the others.
That is right. One of the differences is the Wights are just zombies. So you look at a zombie, right? Like and in some ways, it's kind of just, it could even be almost like just a skeleton. Obviously, those don't evolve or adapt or change, but they're specifically going and taking these babies and turning their eyes blue. So we don't see baby White Walkers. We see them as like full grown old men, essentially. Do they get to live as White Walkers?
That's a
Right?
good
Do
question.
they, I mean, even the book versions, we don't see any baby ones. So we don't know. So we don't know what that is. And I would argue that one of the most telling difference, even though it is obviously the theory and speculation and sort of lore inside of the universe, is the Night King, the Night's King, right? There's a difference.
Yeah, big difference.
Like the there is no Night King in the books like there is in the show. There is the Night's King, which is just a regular dude who happened to be Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, 13th Lord Commander. And he, according to legend, marries what seems to be a White Walker woman. And so we would assume that she can speak to him or transfer or whatever, even if she's using the speak of like the children of the forest, which is said to be like the sound of rustling leaves and trees and all of those things. Right. I mean, some of these people who may have green sight might be able to understand that language.
Yeah, and also if she really was, it's speculated. It's kind of like,
It's like
is she, is she
legend lore,
not? Yeah.
right?
So, but if she is, I mean, that's also a point in the direction of what we've said, that the White Walkers or the others are a complete other species slash culture that we
Right.
that
May
are
have
could be a lot more complex.
right, that it wasn't the children of the forest who created them like we saw in the show. So like that is something to keep in mind. Something Sam notices. He's saying nights were the bad time when it got dark and cold. There had been no attacks while they had been at Craster's, neither Wights nor others, like you said, nor would there be, Craster said. A godly man got no cause to fear, such I said as much in that to Mance Raider once, when he came sniffing round. He never listened, no more than you crows with your swords and your bloody fires. That won't help you none when the white cold comes. Only the gods will help you then. You best get right with the gods.
Yeah, and this is what I pointed out earlier, being like, obviously he's had pretty in-depth conversations with Mance Raider, and there's a deal. There's a deal in place. And I almost feel like Craster's kind of saying, like, you guys should be making sacrifices. I mean, it's kind of what it feels like. Like, you guys should have had this all figured out prior. Now you're not. Now you're screwed.
That's why the White Walkers are taking so long, is because they're just building a bigger and bigger army that they think eventually we can take down the wall.